Mother Maria Lucrezia Zileri, the woman of faith and courage, a woman with a vision who was able to see what is beyond the present time. Continuation of the series of the biographical notes of the servant of God, Madre Maria Lucrezia Zileri. The virtue of the venerated mother shown in the negotiations on the experiment of uniting the Ursulines of Parma with the Ursulines of Piacenza. It was the union that has just begun and was proven to be of no practical relevance, so the two communities had to resume their own autonomy. The Venerable Mother, who intended only on obtaining the greater glory for God and for the greater good for souls, put into action all her energies to achieve this goal. But the difficulties that arose made her realize not to insist anymore. Evidently, the divine providence had prepared the favorable occasion for Mother so that she can have the opportunity to exercise in that incident the most beautiful virtues, leaving her daughters the example of humility, prudence, zeal, and trust in God that are truly admirable. In the winter of 1922 to 1923, Mother suffered heart ailments which gave her the shortness of breath and prevented her from sleeping. The two nurses were edified by her spirit of prayer. She said, "Let us offer to the Divine Father all the masses that are celebrated in the world," that she was consoled for having accustomed to praying, especially with the third method of praying of Saint Ignatius. In the best season, she seemed to recover, so much so that on July 13, she was able to go to Piacenza to attend the profession of two novices. In the novitiate, she made her last fervent exhortation on charity, which served as her spiritual testament. Few days later, at the boarding school, a triduum of spiritual exercises preached by Monsignor Savazzini started. It was done exclusively for the daughters of Saint Angela Merici. On the 24th, the second day of the Triduum, the good mother came to talk to those daughters with much fervor that those who made the exercises could not help but admire the freshness of mind and enthusiasm of spirit in her. However, the following day, after the Holy Mass and the sermon she listened, she began to feel ill, and shortly after, following an injection given to her by the doctor, she fainted, which lasted for a long time. Little by little, however, the Venerable Mother recovered. She began to smile amiably, so that the crisis seemed to have been resolved. After 3 days, she was able to get up a bit, and on the 31st, she was really fine. It was the feast day of Saint Ignatius, the eve of her birthday, and everything in her became alive, remembering that her earthly life had begun on the day of Saint Peter's liberation from prison. But the following day, on that very happy day for her community, the painful symptoms of weakness manifested again. However, the announcement of the arrival of Father Abbot Serafini, who would have resolved the thorny situation of the union, gave her a little liveliness, and she received him in her room the next day. She gave him her biographical memoirs. She stayed with him for about 45 minutes, talking to him with perfect clarity of mind so that they could understand each other perfectly with mutual satisfaction. In the afternoon, the patient was visited by the Most Reverend Mother General, to whom, while dealing with current affairs, showed all her personal respect and her grateful affection for the loving care she received. In the evening, she felt so re-energized that she prayed the rosary with a loud and confident voice with her secretary. Later, however, she began to have hallucinations. Then, high fever manifested in her with some deliriums. The doctor declared that she has a severe bronchial pneumonia. In the morning, she telephoned and telegraphed the houses of the Institute, and she asked the superior of the Jesuits, Reverend Father Cattaneo, to administer to her the Holy Viaticum. Also, Monsignor Savini came, who reminded her that it was the first Friday of August, and that the Sacred Heart promised his devotees to console them in those moments, to which she replied, "I know that the Sacred Heart keeps his promises." The series of the biographical notes of the servant of God, Mother Maria Lucrezia Zileri, will be continued in the next video.